Hey y'all, it's Trent on the Loose, and on this Wednesday, well, originally it aired on a Wednesday. Pastor Jeff Weiss, how are you?
I am fantastic today. Thank you, Trent.
Did I get my wires crossed? I thought you were going to be here at my place in Nebraska today. Is that not happening today?
The flight was canceled due to beautiful weather. No winds. They don't know how to land the planes.
How did you know that we've got a beautiful day kind of set in after some massive winds? Pastor Jeff Weiss coming to us once again from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And we now get to communicate on a regular basis because thanks to our other partner in crime, Luke Tibor, we're doing Wing and a Prayer every Sunday. So, and it was a tremendous amount of thought was given into how we name this program, Jeff.
No, we're basing everything on truth. And the truth is that God just threw that out there seconds before it came. And
Seconds. I mean, literally
you know,
seconds.
it's kind of funny you say that because when God is moving and working, and we'll talk about this a little bit in our thing today, that man, everybody's saying, God, the world's so chaotic and all this crazy stuff's going on. Well, I'm finding it on my end. God is chaotic right now and on the move and doing some incredible things around the world. And one of the things was what you were just talking about, winging a prayer, and how it's come along and how much it's made lives fuller, and people that I know who are getting to just kind of have an honest conversation about kind of where are we as a nation spiritually, which always leads to, hey, where am I? But the book that I have called Free Indeed, it reminded me of when my partner that actually wrote it and I helped inspire it, Doc Roberts, said, I think I got a name for the book. I think the Lord's given it to me. And he said, Free Indeed. And I was like, yeah, think about it. We can do better. And I mean, literally, that was and now over the past couple of years, that John 8:36 and the idea of free indeed, it has just changed my life and people literally all over the world. So it's when you let God lead, a lot of times you're not in control.
No. And for those individuals who tell me, my goodness, what's wrong with the world? It's just chaotic. How could it get any crazier? I'm like, have you studied history?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you study portions of history, in fact, I got to do this. And I mentioned it to Kelly because we've just had massive winds in the Great Plains of America. And I remember in 2024, and I remember through history. In fact, I got another book right over here. It's called The Great Plains, Encyclopedia of the Great Plains. There are big stories about women who moved with their husbands in a covered wagon. They put everything they own, Jeff, in a covered wagon. And they come across rivers, and they come across Indian territory. They come across all these things. They build a log cabin, and then the women can't handle it because the wind never stops.
Mm.
And I think, what part of history don't you understand? Because it's always chaotic. And unless you have free indeed Jesus as your savior, and you just have that faith that you're doing God's work and play it out, you're going to always think you're in chaos.
But I'm telling you, man, I mean, I'm 60 years old now, and for 44 years, I was absolutely in the race to win by the world's rules. And a little scripture that came to me in preparing to meet with you today was the one, everybody knows it, where the man is laying at the pool, paralyzed for 38 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy, he's laying at this uh, anyway, whatever the pool name of the pool is, we're not going theological necessarily because we don't have to. I want to make a good point about maybe where each one of us are, or certainly where our little towns, our communities, our counties, for sure where our nation is, and for certain our world. But this man is sitting beside this healing pool. And legend held that every morning an angel would stick their finger in this pool and swirl it, and the first person in would be healed from whatever ailment that they had. But for whatever reason, in 38 years, this man had never, ever been able to be the first one in this pool. Now you think, oh, this poor guy. Well, my question, and what was Jesus's first question to him when he came upon him, if you remember, was what? Do you want to be healed? Because what had happened was over the years, even though his life was really uncomfortable, it was the way he got by, the way he processed things. He had a little mat at the edge and a little cup there, and people would throw a coin or two in there every day. So what he became was on welfare, basically, right? Because there had to be a way to get in that pool and be the first one. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that was Jesus's first question, is do you want to be healed? And how is that relative to where we're at today? Well, if we really today, Trent, are after the truth, and we really want the information about something, and we really want to be active and want to be healed of what we would consider the chaos in this world, and move past turning the dial on the television, my gosh, we're in the greatest absolute time in history where all you have to do is push one button on a phone. Now, is it true or not? Well, that's the beauty of it. You become so much into this discernment, because as a believer in Christ, like I assume most of us are, or definitely we're calling today, this is where the truth's at. That's where you're going to find it. But then he gives us this incredible discernment. And so what it's done for me is it's led me into places that, man, you find out that you have been manipulated, you have been lied to, and that anything that you're a part of that is of the world has been corrupted to one level or another throughout the period of time. No question about it. That's why the Bible reigns supreme and is the truth.
And that story in itself is very educational and spot on for the times, because when you said, do you want the truth? I think a lot of people don't really want the truth, even though they talk about it, because they're far too comfortable the way they are. Pastor Jeff Weiss, Trent Loos. Trent on the Loose. We're back with more after this.
At OLS Tubs, we focus on quality ingredients to create premium, low-consumption supplements that save producers time and money. Our customers see increased profits through better conception rates, heavier winning weights, and less time and money spent on doctoring herds. OLS formulas focus on highly bioavailable trace minerals and vitamins, as well as key ingredients to improve immune response, colostrum quality, and feed conversion. Our exclusive formula propels your livestock to their full genetic potential. This is why we confidently say OLS Tubs are simply the best.
Folks, when it comes to crop protection, you need equipment and technology you can count on. The Apache sprayer accomplishes all of that, but you need something else. A service counter and a group of people that'll help you when you need it. Simpson Farm Enterprises at simpsonfarm.com and High Plains Apache from Mandan. They have the service, they have the equipment. All they need is your confidence. Online, simpsonfarm.com or highplainsapache.com. Trent Loos here for my friend Greg Hager. Do you know why he has been named the Entertainer of the Year? It's because he writes his own stuff. It's because what he writes and performs and entertains will touch you in a way like very few songwriters can touch you. His country, his Christian roots come to life. Visit greghager.com for tour dates, merchandise, and book the show yourself. Use the code GREG24 for a discount. greghager.com.
In the heart of North Dakota lies a beautiful community to live, work, and play. Beulah is surrounded by nature and just minutes from Lake Sakakawea and all that it offers. The possibilities for fun and relaxation here are boundless. It's the perfect place to find a fulfilling career, epic adventures, and a welcoming community. Life here is legendary. Plan your visit today and see what you're missing.
Are you looking for something special or one of a kind? At Bassett Motors, we can help you find exactly what you want.
Come on in and experience how small town hospitality and personal service can make car buying a pleasure.
We know interest rates are important to you. We have multiple lenders to negotiate your lowest payment.
Visit us on Highway 281 in Carrington, North Dakota, and online at BassettMotors.com. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
D.C. Congressman Kelly Armstrong running a dirty negative campaign.
Your ads are quite negative when it comes to Tammy Miller. Why?
Well, I'm going to play the game. The
decision to go negative.
You're the first one to throw a punch.
We're going to keep doing it.
Desperate and dishonest.
You cited an artificial intelligence website promoting fake news.
I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong.
D.C. politician Kelly Armstrong. Fake news, false attacks, a negative campaign with no place in North Dakota.
Welcome back, Trent on the Loos. Pastor Jeff Weiss joining us here. As I know many people are saying, well, wait a minute, where do I get Wing on a Prayer? At this moment, you can go on my Rumble, on my Twitter, soon coming to right here at Beck.News. Stay tuned. It'll be on a Sunday morning at 7 o'clock. But today you can go to my Rumble, my Twitter, and and my Spotify. A lot of people listening on Spotify. So I just love that lesson, and that parable just summarizes where we're at today.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the hijacker of it, and I'm not here to slam anything. I'm a musician. I have albums. I went to AC/DC concerts. I bought into the whole thing, Trent, but I'm telling you, keep your kids away from pop culture. Because what pop culture does.
Why is that? It seems that genre just can't stay away from Satan. I don't understand that.
Well, you know, how deep do we want to go? It's all been a plan, right? I have found out that, golly sakes, it's so funny. I don't know if you've seen the video going around about Tupac Shakur.
No.
Okay,
No,
so he is this gangster rapper, I guess. I don't know hardly any songs of rap that I've ever even liked. Maybe one, what was it, Walk This Way, that had that little thing in the middle 50 years ago or whatever. But
did you know that Greg Hager has a country rap song?
You know, I've been warned of that. And as Trent,
deal with it, Greg. Good deal with it.
He's,
All right.
He's a friend of mine, so I'm easing into that. I don't feel like we're close enough yet that I can really go there. But
all right, well, let's just stay with Tupac Shakur.
Shakur, yeah.
Shakur.
I get it mixed up because I used to have this buddy of mine, and I nicknamed him 12 Pac. So I get 12 Pac and Tupac mixed up. So anyway,
and they have a son named Six Pack.
No, unfortunately, he was 2-liter. It went way deep. But anyway, all right. So back in the
all
day,
right, back to a pint at a time. Go ahead.
Here we go. Speaking of pint at a time, Foster Brooks. Perfect segue. Foster Brooks was one of the funniest guys, even as a teenager, early teenager. Those Dean Martin roasts. Did you ever watch any of that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
I doubt the guy ever took a drink.
But he never took a drink, Trent. And you know what the tell was? If you watched him, and you can go on and look now, at the end of it, he'd turn around sober and go, at the end of the episodes. So he was letting you know that, right? That it was theater, that they were acting, okay? This video was surfaced recently of Tupac Shakur, who was a Shakespearean actor kid. You know, very, very feminine. When you hear the video, everybody thinks he was definitely, you know, anyway, his father was, anyway, they were involved in the Black Panther movement. It was all very, very dark. But the point was that he became this hardcore rapper as an act. It was like Marilyn Manson. He would take all that stuff off and go home and cook dinner. But what has happened somehow, spiritual warfare has just allowed us to melt that wall in our mind to where we can't see something like that and understand that it is an act. And so pop culture now can get into a kid like this for what, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day sometimes. And so that's the enemy that we're fighting now, and we're way behind.
So let's do me a favor, because I often talk about it. I know that people repeat it every single day. We talk about we are in the middle of a spiritual war. What exactly does that mean, Jeff?
To me, what that means is that we are pawns in a physical war that we pay 99.9 to 100% attention to. But the truth is, there is actually an invisible force that is controlling everything that's going on. And in Ephesians 6:12 is where he says that our battle is not against blood and flesh, but against those powers and principalities and rulers of the age between evil and good. So, you know, once again, it goes back to that photograph, the picture. Who are you going to listen to? You've got evil forces every day, then you have godly forces every day. And I'm just here to tell you that we get there you go. Are you going to listen to the God voice, or are you going to turn and start saying, well, maybe he didn't say that? Because the truth is, you're caught in the middle. And there we are. But the truth is in Genesis. And this is, I mean, that's what, nothing new under the sun. Are you kidding me? This was identically what happened when Eve was tempted by the serpent. He's going, look, God is not wanting anybody to be equal to him. You're going to be equal to him. And he's not going to like that. So eat away, right? And that's still what we're at. And so in our book, the very first lesson says there is a God and it is not you.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is he doesn't need any of our help. And so when you come to trying to decide what is going to drive my life, man, what is it that's going to make my feet hitting the floor in the morning? In the American culture, it's typically a better job, a higher income, a better vacation, a nicer life. When that's so short-sighted, when you realize that you're an eternal being, you're focusing on this much of a string that never ends.
Don't we need to define a nicer life? Because for some of us, a nicer life would be that pool out in our backyard and this $1 million home that we have servants for, which in fact, that's not my nicer life. My nicer life is that the loved ones I have in my life, I get to interact with on a regular basis, and I have enough of a shelter to keep me comfortable.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's so much deeper than that. It's all comes down to how we look at life. And I'd love to get, if George Barner or one of his people wouldn't come on with us on Winging a Prayer one night, just to talk a little bit about the research they're doing now about a worldview versus a biblical worldview.
I would love to hear that.
Oh man, yeah, I've got research. If you just go, we just go through his research, it's phenomenal. Whether you view the world through a biblical lens or a world lens, he says starts developing at 18 months of age and ends in 7th grade. So by 7th grade, he's finding out that the kids already understand when they hear something, am I going to process this as the world does, or I'm going to process it through the Word of God?
So my immediate question I'll ask you when we get back with the last segment already. Trent on Loos, Pastor Jeff Weiss joining us from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We're back with more and my question after this.
A North Dakota woman and her 4 kids killed by Mexican drug cartels.
Cartels see North Dakota as an emerging market.
When Mexican cartels murder North Dakotans, when the fentanyl they traffic is a death sentence, it's a North Dakota problem. I'm Tammy Miller. Joe Biden won't do his job, I will. If you're here in North Dakota, working for the cartel, let this serve as notice. When I'm governor, we will find you and bring you to justice.
Conservative Tammy Miller.
People get sick for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. Your body's missing something that it needs, or it's exposed to something that it doesn't need. So if you supplement what the body's missing, the body fixes itself. If you remove from the body toxins that are interfering with the body's doing what it's normally designed to do, then the body heals itself. It's really that simple.
NO2U, that's nitric oxide, NO, number 2, letter U.com, and you put Trent as coupon code, you don't pay any shipping.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson is a family-owned dealer with expert staff that know their products front to back. We stock over 150 units of all types and can custom order a trailer with the unique features and capabilities you require for brands you can trust. Our experienced service team is the reason we're also the best place to have your trailer customized or repaired. Count on Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson to keep you hauling.
Hello and welcome to the MHA Interpretive Center. It's the perfect stop along the Lewis and Clark Trail and the cultural hub of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. Nestled along the shores of Lake Sagagawea in Newtown, North Dakota, 1 mile west of the Four Bears Casino. You can enjoy amphitheater performances, art exhibitions, and educational workshops utilizing our living cultural center. Enjoy some coffee, browse our gift shop, and learn about the original people of this land. Learn more at mhanation.com/interpretive center.
Welcome back. Pastor Jeff Weiss keeps talking about pop culture and sports, but I've already learned that he keeps me abreast of what's happening on the football field and the theater and the band concerts, just keeping abreast of what's really taking place. And I haven't forgotten my question. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, unfortunately, the reality to me is now legacy. And I have a 5-year-old grandson and a 9-year-old granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
I just am so desiring them to have these same conversations that we're having today, because at the speed and the rate of which people are willing to give up liberty for the sake of security, it's just going so much faster. I was born and raised on a farm. We didn't need anybody. We didn't. We could self-sustain. And you and I have been other places, talked about this before. I got lost in Indianapolis the other day, and I'm not sure without my GPS, I wouldn't still be circling around that city. And you helped me
because you become reliant upon it.
We are reliant upon that, which is that in and of itself a bad thing? Probably not. But could there be a bigger picture? Could this be part of that Satan in your ear? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And I believe it is, because the ultimate thing is to control us, right? Is to control who we are, what we are, and to keep us from our true identity, which you alluded to a little bit ago, which was your next question, I believe. But what was that again?
Well, before I get to my next question and true identity, you brought up something that I want to follow up on, because, out that way, which would be straight west to where I'm at right now, Jeff, there's a group of cows, and I always marvel at cows. And I think cows are no more in tune to nature than we should be, but we've not honed in on that because we built a house and we built all of these means of survival instead of learning to survive in God's creation. If I go on the backside of that pasture and open a gate, the cows won't know it unless they see it or hear me or there's some trigger. But if one cow walks through that gate, the rest of the cows, you can just see them like something just happened. And they're wondering what just happened. Even if they can't see that cow, they will migrate in that direction because they have some ability to sense what's taking place. We've lost that because we've relied on GPS technology. We've relied on everything other than the God-given senses for survival that we were given. And I go study my animals because they teach me so much about survival.
But I've just come to this in the last couple of days. I can't believe I'm getting to talk about it already. But my wife and I were talking about it just yesterday or the day before. But the four columns, let's say, that I believe in is we have to know ourselves and know God.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that, we'll find some freedom. And then through that, we'll discover our purpose. And then with that purpose, we can make a difference, which in turn will have been our creative purpose. So it'll give us that peace and joy, right? Think about this time of year, we got carpenter bees, bumblebees, we got everything. And we were sitting there watching these carpenter bees. Right. And Renee goes, well, man, I know what that guy's doing. I am watching, he is protecting this sector right here. And anything that comes inside of that, bam, he's running it out of there. And you know what that told me is those bees know their purpose, Trent.
Mm-hmm.
Ants, watch an anthill, watch honey.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, they know exactly their purpose. So I think these cows, in some way, however it is, they know their purpose. Do you? Has anyone ever really looked past, like what you said, the houses and the culture and the race to make all this money, and literally looked inside of those eyes and go, if God made the bees with a purpose, wouldn't you guess, even though they were good and we are very good, that he definitely made you with a purpose? That's why we're not even, that's where I'm going with all this, is that we're not even ready to punch the button and do the Google search to find out who we are. We're not even that curious, right?
Or even DuckDuckGo.
Especially DuckDuckGo, which, that was a faux pas because that's what's on mine.
Yeah. Okay. So it's ironic that my question that I was saving is now perfectly segued into, because of what you just said, and purpose. If you were to ask Trent Loos what his purpose was since March 25th, 1998, I would have told you pretty clearly to be the best parent possible, to set these girls, which we didn't know we'd have 3 girls, because March 25th, 1998 was the day of the first girl being born. We have 3 girls. My role, beyond God's word, which is part of it, is to make sure that I set these girls on the right path for the future. And I say I, meaning we, Kelly and I, that now for 31 years have been doing that. Our oldest is 26, just to clarify all the details. And if you go back to the formation of the thoughts of the one world and 18 months to 7th grade, if the parent does not have as a primary purpose in life to set your kid on the right path, that kid is going to have a challenge for life.
Yeah. Let me address something you just said. Okay, here's another part of our identity, is that our bodies are just this temporary house that we're only going to live in for a very short time. Our spirit is eternal, right? And we're all breathed out of God. We are the spirit of God. So technically, those are God's kids. And all he's done is give you a very temporary duty through obedience to him. See, that's what we miss, is it's not through our own intellect, our own knowledge that we raise these children. It's we teach them to be obedient to their creator, which leads them to the truth, which is the word. So if we get in a plane crash tomorrow, they're still good. So the idea of the legacy is that we continue to pass this thing on, right? And so the identity starts with knowing, hey, I'm a child of God, everything is his. And that's helped me with, possessions and trying to, get a little better this, or like you said, nicer things. And this is for another day, but Romans 12:2 says, hey, you've got to renew your way you think. Your mind has to be completely renewed. And I always use the analogy that it would be like if they come out with a news flash tomorrow, noon Central Time, we're going to begin driving backwards on the interstate. And it's how 180 degrees most of the time now, if you're like me and you're affected with this worldview, instead of a biblical view, I don't go straight to what would the gospel say about that. The old, what would Jesus do? Brilliant. Only I would make them a little thinner so you could snap them and they would hurt a little bit when you catch yourself.
And if this discussion were a vehicle on that interstate Pastor Jeff Weiss talks about, we would have just gotten a speeding ticket because we've exceeded the time and now we're ready to pay the fine. For Pastor Jeff Weiss, I'm Trent Loos. In God we trust. Wing and a prayer. Catch it every Sunday. God bless the veterans and the farmers who feed us.
Are you looking for something special or one of a kind? At Bassett Motors, we can help you find exactly what you want.
Come on in and experience how small town hospitality and personal service can make car buying a pleasure.
We know interest rates are important to you. We have multiple lenders to negotiate your lowest payment.
Visit us on Highway 281.
Hello, everyone. I'm Trent Loos. Welcome to another Live Across the Pond with my pontification partners, plural, from the UK, Andrew Henderson and Kelly Seaton. Good afternoon, UK.
Good afternoon, UK, and good morning, USA. I've got it the right way around.
Good morning, USA. Good afternoon, Kelly in the UK. That's good, isn't it? 2 against 1. Love it. Love it.
I need
What
to know
else?
why it's 2 against 1. Have you been bickering this week?
Go ahead, Andrew.
No. Have you any good wild horse stories for us, Trent?
No. Why do you ask
No?
if I have any good wild horse stories for you?
He's bringing it back to the Royals again, Trent. 2 minutes in, and he's bringing it back to the Royals already.
Well, we know that he's obsessed with that family, but go ahead, Andrew.
Well, yesterday, 2 of the King's military horses, one black horse, was there 5 in total?
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
Okay, it's wonderful when we bring our own fact checker along. That's awesome.
No. Okay. All I've seen is the clip of the black horse and the white horse. What else was there?
There was some more, but they just all peeled off in different directions. There was 5 in total.
Well, if they followed the script correctly, there would be 4. Go ahead.
See, if you're a private investigator, you know somebody's half interested when they come up with a comment like that. You say, well, what are you talking about? Why should there be 4, not 5? Military horses, Trent. Why?
So anyway, what's the story? I'm dying. We're here with bated breath. I can't wait.
They were rampaging through London without anybody under anybody's control. And the white horse had blood, or what looked like blood, all over her front mane, and also right down the back of all her back legs. The only thing is that a lot of people are mentioning that it probably was not blood, and that it was some form of red dye. So it's got the old conspiracy theorists thinking, because I heard there's a similar thing with this same, I think it was a very similar, or if not the same white horse, was marching through London the day before Lord Rothschild was announced. His death was announced. The man that's supposed to be the real king of the globalists, who died very recently. And so people are wondering whose death is about to be announced, Trent.
I know.
Do you know? Who is it then?
Well, it might not be the right one, but I had a news update this morning saying Princess Beatrice's ex-boyfriend was found dead in a hotel room.
Oh, right. That's getting anyway. There you go. So let's move on to something that probably is totally irrelevant, and from something that's irrelevant to something that means something, Trent. But it certainly has got a lot of people talking here in the UK about just how wild this royal family is, because we still haven't seen Prince William's wife for now. What's nearly 5 months, isn't it? In the flesh.
They haven't actually discussed what happened and why the horse is spooked either.
No.
That I do find strange.
No, and Trent knows something that he's not telling us, because he said there should have been 4 horses, not 5. So,
well, I'm sure there was a pale horse involved somewhere as well.
Oh.
Anyway, moving along.
So this sounds like no. This sounds like you think this could be biblical. Is that right?
No, I think it's somebody trying to create something biblical.
Okay, can you enlighten us?
No, I have only the information that you have just presented, but it sounds like they've accomplished exactly what they want. Us talking about something that they've arranged to get people distracted.
Oh, from what? What do you think?
I don't know yet.
Distracted.
Probably the upcoming June World Health Organization's executive board meetings, what I'm guessing.
What about
yesterday? We had a school stabbing. Did you hear about that?
30, yeah, I did, but I think this one might be a bit bigger than that. What about the 30 US farms that have been quarantined now because their milk has got bird flu in it, allegedly?
So they're purporting that one that they have found where, and this is a 2016 story, by the way, that there was a case where pasteurization did not kill the avian influenza in the milk. The details on that are that that was all done in a petri dish, including the test, and they loaded the petri dish with 5 times of the normal viral load and then wanted to see if the pasteurization would kill it. And it turns out, no, that didn't work. But they're reporting that instead of what's really happening. And yesterday, the USDA announced that on Monday, the 29th, all lactating dairy animals that cross state lines must have a negative test before they can cross the state line. Let's just go through some details here. Not one single cow has died. They're not really confident. They kind of think that it transfers from cow to cow. It's now been confirmed in 8 states that lactating dairy cows have tested positive for H5N1, and not one positive test on a beef cow of any age, type, or lactation or dry, whatever the case may be. So it looks to me like that they're just incrementally, slowly by slowly, ratcheting up the control on our food supply.
What's the method of testing? Is it a blood test or?
Let's say that again, Kelly.
What's the method of testing? Is it a blood test?
Yes. So they initially they do a PCR test at the local level. Once the PCR comes, this is the protocol, and this is what took place in the first case, because I called Texas Institute of Health and got this detail, or the Animal Health Board, excuse me. And they did a PCR test. Once that PCR test confirms that there is a possible positive, they then send the sample to, well, in Texas's case, they sent the sample to their own lab in Texas, but also the National Veterinary Lab, which is in Ames, Iowa. That's a USDA facility. They also sent it to Iowa State, which is in Ames, and they sent it to Cornell University. So that is an ELISA test over, it takes, 72 hours to run that ELISA test. But the initial positive comes from a PCR test on the farm.
Can I just ask, is it not true that 30 farms have been quarantined then?
I have not. I don't have any information about 30 farms being quarantined.
Right. Okay. Well, I need to do a bit more digging, because that came up on social media feeds last night, and I'm really interested in how they are using 2016 data, perhaps, to scare the living daylights out of people.
Correct. And there's 8 states that have had a positive lactating dairy cow positive test, and only 5 states in this season that we're currently in that have tested where they're reporting positive actual birds, poultry flocks with avian influenza. And again, we're talking about, they tell us, H5N1.
Well, surely the answer to that is that the PCR test, like it was with COVID, is totally flawed, because it gives false positives everywhere. Is that not where we're heading with this?
Well, their answer to that question is that the false positives then would be confirmed by the ELISA test, which is conducted at the lab.
Oh, and have all of these positives been ELISA tested?
Yes. There's no. They do not. They report, and I can only tell you what they report, because I have zero confidence in the USDA. But they report that, well, number one, they report that all PCR positives on the farm that were tested in the lab with the ELISA are also positive. So they're saying they've not had one positive on the farm with a PCR that was then negative in the lab. But all of the positives we're talking about here come from an ELISA test that took place in the National Veterinary Lab in Ames, Iowa.
So I've just had a little look, because I thought I'd seen something on Farmers Weekly earlier about avian influenza. Anyway, just a quick search, and the first thing that comes up is, although avian flu is deadly for birds, it is less lethal to cattle. only about 10% of affected herds are impacted, resulting in a very low mortality rate, with most recovering quite quickly. Which kind of alludes to what you're saying, Trent, which nobody's died, but they're not really saying it.
Well, the article
Yeah,
was written very misleadingly because
Yeah.
10% of the herds have a reduction in milk. And those,
Yeah.
and it's not 10% of the herds have a death. They almost want you to believe 10% die, which is not very much. Not one cow has died from avian influenza that we know of.
No,
Wow.
they're literally using COVID language, aren't they? Low mortality.
Absolutely. It's very misleading.
But actually, when
Yeah.
you and I can read between the lines, it is saying exactly what you're saying. It's just in a misleading fashion to make you think otherwise, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Why would you? I mean, maybe I'm being stupid, but why would you call a test to determine a disease an ELISA test? Just you couldn't make it up. Only in America. But anyway.
I'll figure that out during the break because I'm sure it's acronym for what test is actually taking place. And Kelly's probably yelling at me right now. I just can't hear it. We'll take a break live across the pond. Kelly Seaton, Andrew Henderson. We'll be back with more after this.
We are the currently registered largest beef livestock grower on Oahu, on this island. We have 500 head of our own cattle here, and to see that disappear, I mean, this island's already a concrete jungle. And if we keep going down this route, in one hurricane, our food source is going to be wiped out in 2 weeks. We have nothing to be able to sustain on locally because we keep losing ag lands to developers.
Hello and welcome to the MHA Interpretive Center. It's the perfect stop along the Lewis and Clark Trail and the cultural hub of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. Nestled along the shores of Lake Sagagawea in Newtown, North Dakota, 1 mile west of the Four Bears Casino. You can enjoy amphitheater performances, art exhibitions, and educational workshops utilizing our Living Cultural Center. Enjoy some coffee, browse our gift shop, and learn about the original people of this land. Learn more at mhanation.com/interpretive center.
Trent Loos here for my friend Greg Hager. Do you know why he has been named the Entertainer of the Year? It's because he writes his own stuff. It's because what he writes and performs and entertains will touch you in a way like very few songwriters can touch you. His country, his Christian roots come to life. Visit greghager.com for tour dates, merchandise, and book the show yourself. Use the code GREG24 for a discount. greghager.com.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
Base Fluke Trailers of Dickinson is a family-owned dealer with expert staff that know their products front to back. We stock over 150 units of all types and can custom order a trailer with the unique features and capabilities you require for brands you can trust. Our experienced service team is the reason we're also the best place to have your trailer customized or repaired. Count on Base Fluke Trailers of Dickinson to keep you hauling.
Are you looking for something special or one of a kind? At Bassett Motors, we can help you find exactly what you want.
Come on in and experience how small town hospitality and personal service can make car buying a pleasure.
We know interest rates are important to you. We have multiple lenders to negotiate your lowest payment.
Visit us on Highway 281 in Carrington, North Dakota, and online at BassettMotors.com. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Folks, when it comes to crop protection, you need equipment and technology you can count on. The Apache sprayer accomplishes all of that, but you need something else. A service counter and a group of people that'll help you when you need it. Simpson Farm Enterprises at simpsonfarm.com and High Plains Apache from Mandan. They have the service, they have the equipment. All they need is your confidence. Online, simpsonfarm.com or highplainsapache.com.
Look, so see these cows here, Trent.
Welcome back, live across the pond. Trent Loos, Andrew Henderson, Kelly Seaton. We're going to turn the floor to Kelly. But before I do, the ELISA test, Andrew, stands for the enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay.
Oh, okay.
So you could say that, or you could say the ELISA test.
Anyway, and don't you think the guy that worked it out from the letters of the description probably smiled to himself when he realized what he'd come up with as a name?
No, he was a nerdy scientist. He had no idea that it would be weird to people to try to say immune-linked immunosorbent assay. No, it was just normal for him. All right, Kelly was trying to break rules during the break and talk about issues. What were you bringing up, Kelly?
So I don't understand why. Well, I do, I guess, but avian influenza is most prevalent in Asia. If you go to the cheap frozen food section in any supermarket in the UK, you will find that the frozen chicken, duck, anything like that has come from the Philippines or Thailand or somewhere like that. Are we not possibly importing the disease-ridden bird flu meat?
First of all, a couple of weeks ago, we documented on this program that China and Asian countries have had fewer cases of avian influenza across the board than North America, or you're in the lead. You have more in Europe than anywhere else in the world. Secondly, there is nothing wrong with the food that is consumed from these birds when cooked properly.
No, I agree with you. However, a lot of what we import is below standards, like it's maybe not refrigerated properly. If you actually intercepted every single container of meat that comes to the UK, a good 80% would probably not meet standards, whether it's not been refrigerated properly or whether it's not been packed properly or anything like that. We just let it come through because our border controls are so shocking.
Yeah, and I'd also say that, Trent, you mentioned there that there's been more records of bird flu in North America and then even more in Europe than the Far East. But that's only because they won't be testing for it over there. That doesn't mean there isn't more cases. It's just that they know it's not harmful.
Well, the Guardian states that Asia has it worse, but it is mainstream media, so whether you believe that.
Yeah.
And the Daily Mail is reporting here in the UK that 18 dairy farms in America are under quarantine for this. So that's just how the media stir things up, you know?
I don't know that to be true or false, but I know of no situation where a dairy farm's been quarantined for this happening.
It's been reported in the Daily Mail that it has, but whether that's true, I don't know.
The first red flag was a state vet of Idaho who refused an interview with me. Actually put a restriction on no dairy cattle coming into the state of Idaho, which is foolish. But the whole thing is about to blow out of control. I can see that. And again, I repeat where I started. It seems as though it just is very well timed for an executive board meeting by the World Health Organization, which I believe is June 3rd and 4th. So we're going to ramp this up until these executive board members get together, which they do twice a year. And what they do when they get together is assess where the big risk in human health are around the world, despite the fact that there is only one documented case of a person getting anything from these cows that tested positive for H5N1.
Yeah, but
and that one person had a few days of a red eye, period.
Well, don't forget, they're going to save us all by making us all have the new avian flu vaccine that they've already put together. That it'll also make the masks will be back, the 6 feet or 3 meters. It's different, of course, in Europe, will come back. And people tell me, like you, that everybody will comply, and I don't think they will.
I never told you everybody would comply. I told you there would be more people comply than you would believe will comply. Because I don't see in my world, In my world, I'm going to say 50-50.
50-50. Well, that's going to be a very interesting development, because 50-50 will be a lot different to what it was with COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in almost
What's your
other
thoughts
news,
on that, Kelly?
Sorry,
Yeah.
say that again. There was a child screaming.
Oh, sorry, Trent. Go on.
so Kelly,
No. I'm just saying, do you believe 50? Go on, you carry on, Trent. Go on.
Kelly, if in fact the World Health Organization tries to create a fear in a pandemic again, what percentage of people will comply with social distancing and mask and get a jab and all these other things?
I think more than 50% will comply.
Yeah.
There's people still getting the COVID jabs. I saw somebody the other day who said they were a bit chilly because they'd had the COVID jab 2 days ago.
Yeah. So, in almost other news, but yet very similar, I see that I think it's in the Netherlands, somewhere in Europe, a company is reporting that they are now heading down the path, and the company is called Solar Meats. They are making, I don't think they call it meat, excuse me, solar proteins. They are taking nitrogen from the atmosphere and making a protein product from air. And if you see the story that I found, it's very intriguing on what they're talking about doing. But then, of course, they had to include in one paragraph that the advantage to doing this is because the livestock that typically generate our protein supplies are horrible emitters of emissions. Now, most people are going to read that and say, oh, this sounds like a good thing. Time out. What are the elements of the atmosphere that they're pulling to make a protein from atmospheric elements? Emissions.
Yes.
So if we're going to eliminate emissions, you're going to have nothing in the atmosphere to pull to make some fake protein that we don't need, by the way, because we have cows, pigs, sheep, and chickens. But people will read this and are like, oh, this sounds like a really cool deal.
I don't even like breathing the air in our cities, never mind eating it. So I'm not convinced.
That's a wonderful analogy.
Well, the thing, it is a wonderful analogy. And also, you just have to look at it and think, these people actually want death.
They do.
This is death. This is like the end of civilization. That's what they...
Kelly?
I feel like they've spelled it out enough. I feel like they just keep throwing bits in until people actually go, oh, that's really what's happening. And maybe people aren't conspiracy theorists. That's really what they want.
I booked, Trent will get very annoyed with me in a minute. I booked a flight, Trent, the other day. And I've been asked, as I was going through my booking process, would I like to offset my carbon for this flight? I mean to say.
Did you say yes or no?
What they're about to do. What do you think?
Yeah.
But there's no consequence for saying no. So why ask the question?
So how are they proposing? Are they offsetting your carbon by the farms that they're buying up and down the UK? Is that what it goes?
Exactly. I've no idea. It said, would I like to offset the carbon that I'm going to emit by sitting on their plane?
So was that a British Airways flight?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Although Damien will tell you that he was asked to do that this time for when he goes back to New Zealand, and that is a British Airways flight. It's a standard thing they're asking you, which makes you realise that somebody's recording that information.
Yeah, absolutely. They're gathering data.
Also, that nobody asks you that question when you buy a pint of milk. However, the supermarkets are beating farmers with carbon offsetting and carbon recording.
I know.
Which actually, if we've got time, leads on to my video.
That's good then. I don't know if we've got time. Have we got time?
Time for what? Time for what?
My video.
Oh yeah, let's play it.
Video. Yeah.
Agriculture cannot go along with this carbon deal. You cannot agree to have your carbon emissions measured in any way, because what they want, like I read out of that Tyson Foods ESG report, what they want is your supplier data in a standardized way of calculating it. Because what do you think the next step is? They're going to want you to reduce it and reduce it and reduce it. It's $3 billion that the USDA took with no oversight. What they want to do with it is build a system that measures your carbon emissions. They're kind of giving away what the problem is there. The problem is you and your carbon emissions. And all the bigwigs in agriculture have pretty much signed on to this deal. And that narrative, that carbon emissions are this huge problem.
That's Jim Mundorf. Hold on, Kelly. That's Jim Mundorf from Iowa. If you'd like to follow him on Twitter, it's Lonesome Lands. Do indeed follow Jim on Twitter. In fact, you could catch me on there last week. We had a great conversation about CO2 pipelines. Anyway, go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry, so this is bothering me. So we left our supermarket contract because of carbon recording data and all of that rubbish. They want you to buy their products so that you can reduce your carbon emissions. So they are basically stealing your data and then beating you with a stick with it and then using you to offset their carbon, which is how that comes back to Andrew. We've moved to another supplier. They've asked us to do the same. We have said, no, I want to empower farmers to take back their data. It is your data. Do not give it away or let them steal it.
And we've just identified one of the two that will not comply when things are being told what to do. That's Kelly Seaton. For Andrew Henderson, Kelly, I'm Trent. Live across the pond, regaining control of the farmer, one bite at a time. See you tomorrow.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
At OLS Tubs, we focus on quality ingredients to create premium, low-consumption supplements that save producers time and money. Our customers see increased profits through better conception rates, heavier weaning weights, and less time and money spent on doctoring herds. OLS formulas focus on highly bioavailable trace minerals and vitamins, as well as key ingredients to improve immune response, colostrum quality, and feed conversion. Our exclusive formula propels your livestock to their full genetic potential. This is why we confidently say OLS Tubs are simply the best.
People get sick for two reasons and two reasons only. Your body's missing something that it needs, or it's exposed to something that it doesn't need. So if you supplement what the body's missing,